Hello, hello, hello. Just want to quickly set that to do not disturb. All right. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. I have a question for you. Are you exhausted? Are you just so tired that really no amount of sleep is restoring your energy? And are you at that point where you're just so depleted that you're continue to power through and power through and power through, and the weekends, your vacations just aren't refreshing you, aren't giving you the energy that you want, that you desire, that you wish you had? And it's almost like if you think of a cliff at the edge of the water, it's just like this erosion of energy, but it's happening from the inside out. It's not something like, but it can be like, that's a great analogy. Now I just kind of thought of that. It can be like that though, that it is so gradual. It can be so gradual. And I don't think I have to tell you, you are not alone. This depletion, this chronic depletion is something that I'm talking to a lot of women about. And we're going to explore and hopefully understand a little bit better the signs of chronic depletion. We're going to dig into why this happens, how it affects your well-being on all levels: mental, physical, emotional, relational. And then I'm going to share a few tactical, actionable steps that you can do to break this cycle. And yes, even be able to break this cycle in the midst of this holiday season. I'm an executive coach, Dottie Posto, and I help executive women leaders, overcome burnout. Why? Because I've experienced it firsthand. I've experienced what burnout can do to my health, my productivity, my creativity, my relationships, my family life, my work life, all of it. And I've also seen how that chronic stress, that depletion, can weaken your immune system and leave you exposed to so many chronic illnesses and chronic diseases that deplete you even further. So, what is chronic depletion? Let's just talk about that for a second. Chronic depletion the concept is that you have gotten to the point where you are giving, you are going to the point where your mental capacity is starting to diminish. And I don't mean that you're not as smart as you used to be. There's just brain fog. There's decision fatigue. There is a constant state of overwhelm. Then chronic depletion also impacts our physical health. How does that show up? It shows up as fatigue, maybe even chronic fatigue. It can show up as physical health issues. Those might be digestive issues, headaches, chronic pain, frozen shoulder. In the end, it all ends up being the same thing. It is a compromised immune system that is because of the stress your body's under. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well. Emotional well-being. And this shows up differently in terms of how chronic depletion shows up for people. So for many of my clients, their emotional well-being is impacted, and in a way that they've been holding down, stuffing down their emotions for so long that they're numb. They don't feel anything, almost nothing. They might, they don't even feel things that they want to feel on the positive side: the joy, the excitement, the well-being, the love. And they're not even feeling as much of the anger or resentment or frustration. They're just numb. They don't feel anything. Brene Brown talks about, if you block out emotions like anger, frustration, even depletion, depression, anxiety, fear, all of what some people might call negative emotions, then you also limit your capacity to feel anything that we might label as positive, any kind of expansive emotions, love, joy, freedom, well-being, excitement, ecstasy, pleasure. All of these are damped down because you're damping down all the other emotions. For other clients that I have, they spend so much of their time feeling irritable, frustrated, resentful, and disconnected. Disconnected from others and disconnected from themselves. They spiral into those negative emotions and they just can't get out of it. Even though life tends to be 50-50, they really can't see, they can't feel any kind of the positive, expansive emotions that are available to them because everything has just been so frustrating for so long. The other way that chronic depletion shows up is through our relationships. When we're tired, when we're frustrated, when we have a hard time um, uh, kind of keeping, like managing that flow and being able to go in and out of it as, both on the challenging, I call it constrictive side of the emotions, and then coming back into some more neutral or expansive emotions. If we can't ride that wave of allowing our emotions, then we have a really hard time being present. Oftentimes, because we're stuffing down our emotions, we're just trying not to react. We often can't be present with the people we care about. Our relationships end up strained. And I also see my clients over caring to their own detriment, where they are just giving, 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 and just wanting others to be taken care of. So let's talk for a few minutes about why this happens. We're going to talk about a few root causes. First of those are societal pressures. We often as women have the expectation or the societal expectations to do it all and to do it perfect. The expectations that we're superwoman, and we often even put those on ourselves, and that we look at asking for help as a sign of weakness, or that we don't know what we're doing. And so we try to figure it out all the time. So many women I talk to, I'm just DIY in it. I'm just trying to do it all myself. I'm trying to figure it all out myself. We also have some internalized beliefs. So that's a second thing, and there's several of those. The first one of these internalized beliefs that is one of the root causes of burnout is perfectionism. We might be rewriting emails multiple times, spending hours over preparing for a presentation or event, fearing that you're going to look unprepared. We're reluctant to share incomplete. This I see so much. I see this so much in people I work with, clients. Reluctance to share incomplete ideas or drafts for fear of criticism, or fear of not looking smart, fear of not looking polished, fear of not being at the level that you think you would be looked at upon if it was done and done perfect. And oftentimes this perfectionism results in being very critical of yourself for even the smallest mistakes, even if others don't notice, or if they say, oh, no big deal. You're still very critical of yourself. That's one way that perfectionism shows up. I'm going to take a sip. Another one of the root causes, one of the internalized beliefs that is a root cause of burnout, is constantly feeling like you need to prove your worth. And oftentimes people don't think of it as I have to prove my worth, until they really take a deeper look at it. It shows up as taking on too much responsibility at work to show your boss, your peers, your team, the value that you bring to the team. Overachieving in everything, in parenting, in work, in fitness, to feel like you're good enough, to feel like you're worthy of the accolades and the promotion and other things. Another way that I've seen clients prove their worth is this constant comparing of your progress to others, and feeling like you just can't keep up, like you're falling behind. You should be further along in your career. You should have been promoted to X or Y at this point. Um, that doesn't always show up as much with the more executive clients, but there is still a constant comparing. There's a comparing to peers. There is a comparing to other executives who maybe, maybe you're at the director level and there's somebody at the VP, or somebody you're at the VP and there's an EVP, like constantly comparing, and that you're not far enough along yet. Staying late, another proving your worth, is staying late at work regularly, even when there's tasks that could wait to another point. Another way that I see clients prove their worth is equating their productivity with their self-worth. I have one client who, she felt like she had to be productive all the time in everything she did at home, everything she did in her office, everything she did with her clients. Another internalized belief is the fear of letting others down, saying yes to social invitations or favors, even when you're already depleted, even when you just know you need the rest. Another way that fear shows up is overextending yourself to meet other people's expectations, to please what other people expect you to create an appearance of meeting expectations and being the person everyone can rely on. And you end up sacrificing your own needs, your need for sleep, your need for food, your need for rest, your need for companionship, to avoid disappointing others, whether that's a boss, a spouse, a friend. And you avoid difficult conversations, or, in order to try and keep the peace, in order to kind of keep things at an even keel. You don't want to have that direct, maybe confrontational, what might end up to be confrontational conversation. And if you had more energy and less depletion, you'd have the resourcefulness to have that conversation at a level that wouldn't create conflict, or, an escalated conflict. A big one is with clients in terms of a root cause of burnout and a root cause of people being chronically depleted are two main things: difficulty saying no, or difficulty delegating. So let's go to the saying no. I've seen this with executive leaders several times, agreeing to take extra projects at work, even when your plate is already full. Taking on family obligations, whether it's organizing gatherings, caring for relatives, without pausing, without taking a breath, without really assessing your own capacity. You feel pressured often to attend every social event, every networking event, every event of the professional organizations you belong to, or every event that you're invited to speak at, even though your body, your mind needs the rest, or you need connection. Offering time and resources without checking in with your needs. So that's kind of the same thing. Or staying in conversations or relationships that drain you. There's often, and that's a whole nother piece of the conversation, but this is what I hear and see from clients. There's ways to really shift from that, to look at things outside of you creating that depletion. The difficulty delegating, it actually still shows up with senior leaders and executives more than more than I thought it would. Some of it is micromanaging, and that comes from a lot of different things. We won't go into those details here, but instead of really delegating those tasks to your team, or even to your peers, or getting peers' teams to take things on that your team has been doing that maybe they don't need to or shouldn't be doing. Refusing to outsource work in your personal life, whether that might be housework, personal tasks like cleaning or grocery delivery, things like that. Really kind of maintaining that sense of control over things. I'll tell you, I know I got into this when I did grocery delivery for a while. I was like, I don't like what they're picking out, especially when I was doing a lot of produce. And this could be similar to the micromanaging, but really overseeing all of the details of projects that you are a part of, because you don't trust others to handle them the way you would handle them. Doing work that could be delegated to save time, such as administrative tasks, whether those, for booking flights or things like that. I know some people who still do so much on their own because they think it's just faster. When if they took the time to train those folks, it would really make a huge difference. And then the last one in terms of some of those root causes are neglecting your own self-care. Now, some people look at this as the only root cause of burnout, and that as long as they do more self-care, they'll get out of burnout. That is not the case. But I should say, and when you're putting everyone else's needs before your own, whether that's prioritizing your family, your friends, or your work over your health, whether you're skipping meals, skipping exercise, skipping sleep, skipping doctor appointments, these are all signs of chronic depletion. When you ignore the signs of illness, that is another sign of chronic depletion. When I talked to at least three people this week alone, who are powering through illness just to get to their vacation, to get to the holidays. They're just powering through. They're working through 104 fever. They're working through, just this flu-like symptoms, but they're powering through. I just work from home. I can just be at my desk, rather than really tuning in and attending to the needs of your own body, because those illnesses are signals from your body. You need to slow down. You need a shift in something. Oftentimes we sacrifice sleep to catch up on work, to catch up on chores, to take care of family demands or family situations. You let hobbies and activities you actually really love just go by the wayside because they're not productive and because there's just way too much else going on. And all of a sudden, years and years go by and you don't even know what you love anymore. When you're delaying rest or self-investment to meet other people's immediate needs, these are all signs. Neglecting self-care, difficulty delegating, difficulty saying no. Those two are poor boundaries. Really, the internalized beliefs of perfectionism, proving, fear of letting others down. These are all signs. The societal pressures are all root causes of depletion, of chronic depletion. So let's talk about this idea of erosion from the inside out. When we are in chronic stress, what happens is we have two parts of our nervous system. We have the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight, flight, or freeze. And when you're in that, and then we have the second part of it, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, which once you're in this fight, flight, or freeze, the parasympathetic nervous system is what brings us back to homeostasis, brings us back to a calm, grounded sense of well-being. When you are facing ongoing stress, when you're facing this fight, flight, or freeze constantly, this is a survival mechanism meant for short-term danger. But when we have this prolonged stress, it keeps your body in this state of high alertness. It has a constant then release of these stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Over time, all of this activation depletes your energy. And it isn't sleep that is missing. It is your body's ability to be in this parasympathetic nervous system state. And it disrupts that balance, that ability to get into that sympathetic when needed, when there is a true threat. Isn't very often in our lives. I mean, even when we get caught off in traffic, our sympathetic nervous system kicks in. And oftentimes we don't know how to just, kind of set that back in motion. Our nervous system deregulation, that imbalance, that high sympathetic nervous system without the parasympathetic being able to bring it back into homeostasis, into a calm, grounded sense. And it can, that hypervigilance, that exaggerated, those triggers can all of a sudden, triggers that trigger your stress can seem exaggerated and create exaggerated responses. And all of this manifests in poor focus, brain fog, indecision, headaches, digestive issues, sleep disruption, heightened irritability, your fuse is getting shorter and shorter, and often emotional numbness because we're so our body and our mind are in this heightened state for so long that we just numb to try and calm it down versus really knowing how to get this parasympathetic back online. And the vagus nerve is a key player in activating that parasympathetic nervous system. This is why practices like deep breathing or breath work, they might call it, meditation, mindful movement, these all stimulate the vagus nerve. And that tells your body, it's okay. I'm safe. I can come back to calm. I can come back to homeostasis. I don't have to be in this heightened fight, flight, or freeze. But without some of these intentional recovery practices, our nervous system is just jacked constantly. It remains stuck at this level of fight, flight, or freeze. Now, this leads to a lot of things. This chronic stress, when it persists, it can move from overactivation to shutdown. When your body is in this freeze, you have mental and physical exhaustion, and even your bodily functions aren't working properly. This is why we have those digestive issues. We might have also feelings of hopelessness or numbness or disconnection. And that makes it, like I said earlier, it makes it really hard to feel happiness, joy, pleasure, well-being, love, freedom, all of these things, even contentment. Now, there's two kinds of perspectives on what the cost is of all of this to you. The immediate cost, you already know. You're probably already feeling it, a loss of energy and a loss of time. Because you're struggling with this constant, when you're in this constant state, your awareness is not as your prefrontal cortex doesn't have the ability to focus on things like you need to. It is in this, it may be focused, but it might be focused on and so stressed that we can't really get to a bigger picture. The long-term costs, again, your immune system. I've seen this in so many people. I know a woman, a friend of ours, who had a pretty stressful job, years and years and years of just constant stress in the job. And she retired and had one bout with cancer that she worked through, and then a second scare that didn't turn into cancer. And so this burnout, this leads to this diminished ability to really live the most fulfilling life that you can. So I have a question for you. And if you're listening to this later, please kind of give me a note in the comments. What is this depletion costing you? What are the symptoms that you're seeing? Is it issues with your health? Is it issues with your relationships? Is it issues with what you really want to accomplish in your life, but you just don't have the energy or the time to get any of it done? I'm going to give you 3 kind of main chunks here to wrap this up of how you can break the cycle. The first, so important, is self-reflection on your current habits and your current beliefs that are driving this depletion. We talked about those earlier in this recording. So if you want, go back to those, but really reflect on perfectionism, delegation, proving, these internalized beliefs, or even the societal expectations, setting boundaries. Those are all things to start to create some self-awareness around. One of my clients was able to actually put some boundaries up and to stop volunteering for every single project that her VP was bringing to the table for those executive leaders. She volunteered for every single one of them. And once she was able to stop and actually take some of those off her plate and to be able to learn to delegate in a way that was both healthy for her and the folks she was delegating to, and to be able to set up some of those boundaries at home and at work. She was in such a better place. She was enjoying her family. She was enjoying her work. She was finally enjoying her vacations a little more instead of working through them. So what I want you to think about next, once you start to build some of that awareness and start to maybe journal about some of the things that you're seeing, just observe. And the first one is awareness, just observation without criticism. And maybe just say, oh, there, I did it again. Interesting. Get curious. Get curious before you get furious. Get curious before you get critical. The second step is to really start to see if you can meet your own needs in real time. Think about, if you're in this activated state, what do I need right now? Maybe I just need to take a walk around the building. Maybe I need to just close my door and take 10 deep breaths where I'm breathing in, maybe to the count of 4, and breathing out to the count of 8. When you double your exhale from your inhale, that starts to activate that vagus nerve. You might have start some practices like journaling or mindfulness, or really creating space, even if it's 15 minutes, to do something you really love. Maybe it's a puzzle. Maybe it's reading a novel. And then really look at how you can take some small daily actions to refill your energy. Whether that's, a micro movement practice where you do a couple little yoga poses. There's all sorts of things on YouTube where you can do yoga at your desk to just kind of start to get the energy flowing again. That can often, again, put your body into that parasympathetic. The breathing exercises. Maybe look at where you need to set some boundaries, whether that's at work or at home, about maybe when you shut down and you don't log back in, or you don't check email until you're back at your desk, whether that's your home office or your office. Really look at how you can improve delegation and letting go of that perfectionism if that's one of your challenges. Also, really explore the power of no. There was one of my previous lives I did where we talked about a practice to say no. If you're interested in that, leave a note in the comments and I'll send you some information on that. So if you're ready to break the cycle and really end this erosion of your well-being, this erosion of your energy, let's get the conversation started. Once this posts after my live here, I will put a link in the comments to set up a one-on-one call with me, confidential, free, just an hour to explore your burnout situation. And I create custom coaching for each one of my clients according to what your situation is, and in order and what you're looking to accomplish on the other side of your burnout. And so please schedule a consultation with me, schedule an end burnout call with me. And tomorrow, I won't be having my webinar. I have to put some things in there, but we'll have some more information on when those are coming up again. You are not broken. Your life is not broken. Work is not broken. You're simply out of alignment with your core energetic blueprint. So let's get you back on track. Thank you for being here today. And really, please reach out. If your energy is at a point of really being so depleted that you're not looking forward to the holidays, you're not looking forward to, some great family time, that, your fuse, is just going to be shorter than you want it to be, then let's chat. Let's lay out a plan. Let's lay out a plan now. Let's talk, before the end of the year so that next year we can make next year different. Have a great rest of your week, and I hope you have a beautiful holiday.